found was that the models that were used in this movie were actual models from the Laraca industry, and the hair and makeup was from Sinandre, which is they call themselves the Studio 54 of hair salons.
Oh, wow.
So all these people, Anne was a model for Laraca, and she brought them for the movie. And then Sinandre was also a company that she had modeled for, and they offered their assistance. And a lot of the models that are in this and a lot of the small day player roles are all played by professional models.
Oh, wow. So I bet they're very happy that they brought in Anne. Well, they met Anne through Owen, right? The guy who played the teacher?
Yes, and he was
a
playing
casting
himself.
agent. Yeah, because he was a casting agent, right?
Yes. She told me, I'm sorry, I listened to an interview with Anne about how she met Owen, or Bob Brady. But she said that she just wanted to try acting, just to try it. And Bob Brady was like, well, come here, let me see if you can do it. And he recorded her just acting, doing some monologue, and she liked it, and he liked it, and she thought, what the hell, I'll give it a shot. She was right. Like it's interesting how everybody who's involved with this production, they all kind of knew each other. It was almost like a really big, happy family. And that was what Anne had told me, was that filming this movie, it was a lot of fun. It was grueling hours. It was long shooting days. They shot in her house. But at the same time, it was great. Everybody was nice. It was like a big family.
It kind of seemed like that too, because the cinematographer Yuri Naiman, his wife, she also did production design and costume design, and then Yuri shot the thing. So these were all kind of it wasn't. But see, what's weird is you work these grueling shoots, and we've been on some grueling ones before, and when it's wrapped, you're like, that was great. But when you were there, you're like, I hate life. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, you're like, this, I hate all of you. The second to last day of filming, you're like, you all are terrible people. I'm never going to talk to any of you again. I hate you. I hate all of you. And then when you wrap, you're like, you guys were the best. And they give you like a water cooler, like they give you a cheap water thing, And
you
you're
get
like,
a water
oh my
bottle.
God. Yeah, they give you a water bottle as a wrap present, and then you get like some free pastries, and you're like, this was the greatest shoot of my life.
Yeah, that's what keeps bringing us back. The free shirts and hats.
I need those water bottles.
I'm actually using mine that I got on a production right now.
And also, the production design and costume was by Marina Levikova, but she did an awesome job, I think, with $500,000.
Yeah, I'd say. Oh, man, she blew it out of the water. I read that later on in life she became a cartoonist.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
I mean, she dressed the heck out of these people in this film.
Yeah. A lot of the clothes that they used, from what I've read, came from the Goodwill, but it was all styled for the time period. And all their hair and everything was just not of the time. I mean, it was of the time, but it was more of a new wave thing. Anne had told me that the main difference between regular modeling and new wave modeling, there's not really much except for the styles. So it's like the hair was, crazy. And looking at it now, that we watch this movie now, we don't see this movie as being like weird or out of place. But at the time, to have someone with, platinum blonde hair and then a big red mohawk in the middle looked really weird.
Yeah.
And to be a model doing that was just not heard of ever. And to have, there's a woman who has, a shaved head with spiky front, the spikes in the front, the Liberty spikes. Mm-hmm. That's just not something that you saw at the time.
In that new wave, blaring on synthesizers.
Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of good music from that. I mean, Simple Minds, I think, is one of the best bands out there. They're very much before their time. I mean, they were way ahead of their time. If you listen to their music, they're the ones who did "Don't You Forget About Me" for Breakfast Club. Listen to their stuff that's not that, because it is nothing like that song, and it's so beyond its time. Like if you listen to it now, you would swear it came out in the last year.
Wow,
it's insane. It's a lot of their music is really good. I'm a big fan of theirs.
Well, since you told me to listen to them, I'm not. I'll discover them. I'll discover them a few months later. And I'll be like, "Hey, Chris, have you heard of these guys?" I blanked it as soon as you said listen to them. I'm like, you know what, man? Don't tell me what to do.
Come rolling over to my place, cranked full volume from your truck. Be like, "Hey, Chris, I just found this band."
You know that Lonely Island song, "Threw It on the Ground"?
Oh goodness.
He's like, I went to my favorite hot dog place and he gave me some free chips. I threw it on the ground. He's like, I don't need your charity. Now, Adrian, she might be one of the not performance wise, but as a character, as a human being, she might be one of the worst human beings put on screen.
She's a brutal woman in this. I mean, she takes no prisoners, and she is very mean. From what I've read, she's a very sweet woman in real life.
I bet. I'm not. That's why I don't want to say. I mean, and also since they didn't improv much on this because Slava said there's no time.
They didn't have any time at all. I talked to Anne about that as well, and she said they literally had no time and no money for improv. And the reason why you don't see a lot of movement on them in certain scenes is that things were shot with high neon lights. Yep. And she said if we were to move an inch or less while we were talking, they would have been out of focus.
Yeah, most of it was lit with neon lights, correct?
Correct, yes. And that's very hard to shoot, especially with film. So for them to do a lot of movement just isn't happening. That's the reason why you see a lot of people standing still and not a whole lot of movement, especially, like we said, with the monologue scene at the end. And she uses neon paint to paint her face, which I thought was beautifully haunting.
Oh, man, Adrian.
Oh, yeah, she's
when
just
when Margaret tells her what happened to her the night before, she's like, "Oh, get over yourself."
Yeah, right.
She's like, "Apple pie, shit." Like she's just so, like she says the meanest things, and at the end she like takes advantage of. Well, she disappears, I guess, at the end. But like, hey, who wants to get who wants $300 to like pay me to do this? And it's such a.
Such a jerk move.
And then Adrian disappears, and those ladies that were holding Margaret down are like, "What have we done?" Like, well, come on, guys.
How would you respond to that if you were in real life? Like, it's just like
Jimmy just disappeared, though, and like, I'm sure it can be explained by science. Like, what?
Yeah, no. Like, if I was in a party and we were sitting there chatting, and all of a sudden, I mean, there's nothing. What would you say? Like, hey, so. I don't know about y'all, but I'm getting out of here.
Chris Kelly disappeared. There's no like how people do sleight of hand with card tricks, and you're looking at one thing, and then they pop a quarter up in the air. But
yeah,
a person disappeared. Like,
hey, I don't see no deck of cards, bro.
Yeah, I mean, is it a hologram wall that Jimmy backed into? Jimmy loves cocaine.
He's a big fan, I got to admit.
Jimmy's breaking into people's houses looking for cocaine.
He's trying to use anybody that he can to get some more.
He just wants money from his mom.
Yeah, he's written very much like a Bret Easton Ellis character. I spoke to Ann about that, and I mentioned that I felt that this movie would be a Bret Easton Ellis sci-fi film, and she said, well, I mean, obviously she didn't get the idea from Bret Easton Ellis because he hadn't released his first novel yet.
Yeah,
but she wasn't really familiar with his work, but she's like, well, I guess. I mean, I don't really know, but
whatever you say, Chris Kelly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I believe everything else you said.
Yeah, thanks. We made a movie before this guy, and you're comparing it to it. Kelly.
So I just felt like the characters were very much of a Bret Easton Ellis novel, specifically Jimmy.
Oh yeah, Jimmy is he is a Bret Easton Ellis novel.
I wonder if they got the look forward of the characters in The Informers from this movie. Have you seen The Informers?
I have not.
That's a good movie too, but I don't know if you'd be all on board for it, but
well, I'm gonna watch it now because you're saying I won't be on board for it.
So
this is all you got to do, Chris. Don't listen to this band. Oh yeah, I'm gonna go listen to it, and then I'm gonna catch on to it, and then you're gonna think that you're smart about it, but I'm like, I got him.
I got Kelly. He's so screwed.
Chris Kelly's staying up at night trying to figure out ways to get me to listen to songs. Can't do it.
I'll tell you, I'm not going to listen. I'm totally going to listen to Led Zeppelin now that he said not to listen.
Yeah. You know what? The guy from Led Zeppelin went to another band. I'm going to listen to that one. Chris Kelly.
Oh, my goodness.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess... I wasn't too big in the scene in the 80s, but we all, what's interesting, we talked about Valley Girl, which was made in 83 over in California, and then we have this one, which was made in 82 in New York. And I think they're pretty great time capsules. I mean, this one's obviously more heightened. It's obviously more, it was the dialogue, the delivery was meant to be stilted, correct? The dialogue was meant to be, there are line readings in this that can only be from people reading the lines like that because they were told to read the lines like that. Does that make sense?
Could you give me an example of what you mean?
Well, at the very end, when the group are around him, like when they're around her, and they're just sort of saying things, like, 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 well, I'll give you $300. I don't know if I'd want to pay that much money. And like, they're just kind of like, and then the old McDonald had a farm scene.
No, yeah,
Like,
I understand what you mean now. Yeah, I agree that there's probably a lot of there was a few moments like that they probably wanted to add that in there and not really quite sure to do it. But I mean, we have to understand that this movie was shot on film, so if you wanted to get one or two takes of somebody saying that, like that's it. You couldn't afford to keep on going, especially when you had more scenes that were more labor inducive.
But I think that kind of adds to the charm a little bit.
Absolutely.
I felt like there's a very heightened aesthetic in this film. And sometimes when movies do that on purpose, it really sort of annoys me because I feel like it's very faux. I just feel like I'm going for something. But this movie, I guess there's an ounce of like authenticity because it's just all the kids and like it was a scene movie. Does that make like it was like how they cast kids and kids like street kids for kids? You felt that authenticity. So if you cast real actors and kids, it wouldn't work. So I think this movie's helped by what Slava cast and like the low budget aesthetic.
It's sort of like mumblecore, which would be some people whenever you need to have an authentic mailman, so why don't you hire a mailman to play a mailman?
I am so done with mumblecore, though. Oh man, I'm so happy that thing's over.
Yeah, well, it had its comeback for a couple of years, and yeah, I personally enjoyed some of the movies.
Yeah. I'm gonna improv. We got a basic outline, and then we'll just mumble the rest of it and be uncomfortable. Mumblecore. Did I tell you about the mumblecore movie I made up? So it's called Yeti 2 Cold Snap. Have you heard about this?
Oh, no. No.
So it's about these car dealers in Florida, and one of the car dealers, his girlfriend is a big fan of Duplass brother movies, and he gets jealous. And he makes a movie called Yeti 2 Cold Snap, and it's based on a movie called Yeti, and he illegally makes a sequel. But he makes a movie about this Yeti that moves to Florida, and because he fell in love with a woman. And he's working day jobs, and he's really sweaty all the time. And he just kind of drives around dealing with life and mumbling and being really uncomfortable with everything. He's like, I moved from Antarctica, and now I'm living in Florida. I'm dealing in insurance. Like, it's just very, he's just really having a hard time adapting. And, people are calling him a loser because he can't, get into school because he's a Yeti. He doesn't have, like, a high school degree. So he's just going through tough times, and he mumbles a lot in his car with the air conditioner pumping.
That sound all that sweating sounds like your trailer that you made about the guy who perspires to inspire.
Oh yeah, running.
I died laughing when I first saw that.
If you guys are wondering, I was in film school and my buddies and we made some trailers, and there's one movie where I'm just running. It's just a guy who perspires to inspire. And then we have another one called so it's about like a Mad Max movie where one guy will fight all the forces of evil in this post-apocalyptic land, but he's joined by his deadbeat brother. And so it's like it's Mad Max and Jonah Hill from one of his one of his movies where like a deadbeat kid, and they're just going around fighting people who steal gasoline.
The other one I really liked was the guys who were making the projector pack that would send you into the air.
Or the Canadian C4.
I always die laughing every time I think about it. Whenever Megan had made the fake newspaper article, and on the front it just says kablooey.
That guy blew up. So this guy tried to break this record jump on a homemade jetpack filled with C4, but he didn't look where he shot off, and he just blasted right into a tree. It's like you should go in an open field, but he just took off because he was so excited and kablooey.
Oh my gosh!
I like talking about my stuff. This is great. No, but how'd you first discover this movie, Chris Kelly?
Well, I had just got Shudder because Joe Bob Briggs had come back to television and he was going on Shudder. So I got Shudder. I was just thumbing through movies to watch one day, and I saw this film, and it said the front cover of it looked really intriguing. It just looks very surreal and weird. So I decided, why not? I'll give it a shot. As soon as you hit play, it just says, boom, liquid sky, and then you get a shot. And it starts on, that mask that was specifically made for this movie by a Russian artist. And then you just pull back, and then you go to a club, And it's just this very strange film. And I personally love anything that's out of the ordinary. I always love it because I love things that are just different and not the normal. So when I just was immediately hooked. So I started watching it, and I just thought this was just it was an interesting film.